So we are going to develop our sample network here on further by an addition of an organization R3. So we are going to give organizations R2 and R3 a separate application channel which allows them to transact with each other. So this application channel will be completely separate to that previously defined, so that R2 and R3 transactions can be kept private to them. So a network administrator from organization R1 or R4 has added a new consortium definition X2, which includes organization R2 and R3. So this will be used to define a new channel for X2. So R1 and R2 already have a consortium X1, and R2 now needs to transact with another organization R3 without disclosing anything to organization R1. So what R2 and R3 do, they form another consortium X2, and they will have another channel of their own, so that their transactions remain private and are not shared with R1. So either of the two organizations administrators R1 and R2, they make a new consortium X2. Let's see that further. So let's now use this new consortium definition X2 to create a new channel C2. So you can see in these red connected lines that ordering service 04 already has one blue circle here, which belongs to channel 1. Now it has another channel added, C2, as per the consortium R2 and R3. So the channel has a new configuration CC2 also, completely separate to the network configuration NC4. So NC4 is totally separate from CC2, and the channel configuration CC1 also. So channel C2 is managed by R2 and R3, who have equal rights over channel C2, and is defined by a policy in CC2. So R1 and R4 have no rights defined in CC2 whatsoever. So CC2 is a private channel between the two organizations R2 and R3 only, which use the same ordering service 04. Now what happens next is we have added a peer P3. So the organization R3 is able to fully participate in channel C2, and let's add its infrastructure components to the channel. So the peer P3, now it has a copy of ledger L2. So this is separate from L1. So it has its own smart contract S6 and a client application A3. So the peer P3 is now part of the channel C2. It will not have a ledger same as P2. It will have another ledger L2. It will have its own smart contract chain code application S6. So the ordering service 04 can make use of the communication services of channels C1 and C2 both. So you can see here channels C1 and C2 both are using the ordering service 04. So channel configuration CC1 applies to channel C1 and CC2 applies to channel C2. Now client application C1 can use channel A1 can use channel C1 for communication with peer P1 and P2 and ordering service 04. The client application A2 can use channel C1 for communication with P1 and P2 and channel C2 for communication with peers P2 and P3 and ordering service 04. And client application A3 can use channel C2 for communication with peers P2 and P3 and ordering service 04. So ordering service 04 can make use of the communication channels service channels C1 and C2 both. So channel configuration CC1 applies to channel C1 and CC2 this applies to channel C2. So this channel C2 has peer 3 and peer 2. So peer 2 will be hosting two ledgers. One ledger L1 which it shares with P1 in channel C1 and one ledger L2 which it will share with peer P3, and it will also have two smart contracts S5 and S6. S5 is for channel C1 and S6 is for channel C2. So this S6 is as per the consortium R2 of X2 comprising of R2 and R3 as per the channel configuration CC2. Okay. Now let's uh, see the initial sample network diagram once again. Okay. Now this is the initial diagram which shows channel C1 and channel C2 having applications A1, A2 and A3. A1 and A2 are having access to channel C1. A2 and A3 are having access to channel C2. So C1 is for peer P1 and P2 with ledger L1, and channel C2 is for access to P2 and P3 with ledger L2 and their respective smart contracts. So the ordering service O4 is being used by both the channels C1 and C2. R1 and R4 are the administrators which have channel configuration NC4, which is completely independent of the channel configuration CC1 and CC2 for channel C1 and C2. Okay, thank you.